Hello YouTube, this is Alexis, the Transgender Duelist, and today I'm going to be bringing you a BLS deck profile, or Blackluster Soldiers for short. So Blackluster Soldier has, over the past year or so, gotten a few new toys, got a new ritual monster, got a few new babies, basically become a chaos-themed deck, and well, it's become a very fun little deck. It's not super competitive, but I think it has a little bit of viability against the meta, or at least right now, until we get Spirals. And after Spirals, I don't know if they'll even have a chance at stealing a victory. But we'll cross that road when we come to it. So let's go ahead and get straight into the deck profile. We're running one Azure Risen Gaia, the Fierce Knight. And I guess I'll just get this out of the way right away. We're running one of him and one charging. To be honest, you don't ever summon them via their own effects unless you absolutely have to. The reason why we're running them is because they're summonable off of the BLS Super Soldier, and well, basically that's kind of it. I mean, they have a few useful abilities, like if this one is tributed, you get to add a BLS monster from your deck to your hand, which is obviously going to be your envoy of the beginning, and the other one has the ability that when it gets tributed, you get to add a Blacklisted Soldier from your deck. Oh wait, they both do the same thing. No wait, this one's special summons from hand or graveyard, so it could special summon BLS from the graveyard. And this one can just add from your deck to your hand. So they got their own little niche abilities, but you never really use them for that for two reasons. One, you are not physically capable of triggering that ability because of the fact that our Super Soldier Ritual requires exactly eight stars to ritual summon out your monster. And secondly, that's your only way of tributing in this entire deck. I mean, I suppose technically you can tribute off of Decode Talker, but he's just in here because you're able to summon Decode Talker, and you might actually need to at some points. But we'll get to that in a little bit. They're also a light and a dark monster, so they do fit with the theme of chaos. And next we're running triple Beginning Night. So Beginning Night, Beginning and Evening Twilight both do a similar effect. Beginning Night allows you to go ahead and gain the abilities of BLS itself, banishing a targeted monster, and you get to attack a second time when you destroy a monster and send it to the graveyard. And additionally, when it's banished, you also get to go ahead and add a ritual spell card from your deck to your hand. So if you banish it for a chaos summon off of Envoy of Chaos, or to summon out your Black Dragon Curl Spear over here, you get to go ahead and add one of your 4 ritual spell cards from your deck to your hand. And I know 4 might seem like a small amount of ritual spell, but we'll get to that shortly. And then Evening Twilight gives you the effect to banish an opponent's monster, but it also gives you the effect to banish a random card out of your opponent's hand face down until the end of their next turn, which basically means they're not going to get any value out of that card because there's very, very few ways to get a banished face down card back into play. And then when it's banished, you get to go ahead and add a ritual monster from your deck to your hand. Also, I just want to point out any ritual monsters, so if you wanted to, you could go ahead and check in. Let me go ahead and look them up. I can't remember the name offhand, but there's a new ritual monster that basically has the effect of like a solemn warning or something. Yeah, here it is. You could go ahead and check in this guy here if you really felt like it. Now, obviously, I don't run him, but that's just because I don't really have the space for it. But you could run him if you wanted to, like drop the trade in or whatever. So that's what their usability is. Also, as you'll notice, they're light and dark monsters as well, which combos really, really well with the whole chaos theme that we have going on here. We're running double black dragon and double white dragon. So the reason why these are built in here is because 1, they allow us to link summon easily. 2, they trigger the beginning and evening twilight nights. And third of all, they allow for rank 4 exceed plays, which is always really important to have access to in your deck. And that's kind of it. I mean, basically just here to be combo extenders / enablers. Running 2 Blacklisted Soldier, Envoy of the Beginning. Envoy of the Beginning recently came to 2 on their most recent ban list, so I obviously immediately bumped it up to 2 in every deck able to use it. Well, okay, not every single deck. Like, I'm not running it in certain decks, like, for example, Pendulum Edition, but for the most part, any deck that can reliably get out 2 light and a dark in the graveyard, I'm running 2 BLS for obvious reasons. So if you don't know what BLS does, you banish a light and a dark monster, ideally these 2 right here. You summon it out, and then your opponent will have to deal with a 3,000 body that can either attack twice, or it can banish a monster on the field that's face up. It's not as versatile as the babies, but it's still pretty good, especially when you consider the fact that it's basically a free monster, because monsters in the graveyard are basically considered to be resources, not really considered to be, advantaged. Yeah, just an all-around good card. It's searchable via your charging knight, and it's also pretty powerful and fits with the whole chaos theme. Running double Envoy of Chaos. I was originally running 3 of this, but I found 3 was too bricky, 1 was too few. I find 2 to be just right, as you want to see this card often, but you don't want to have multiples of it in your hand too often. Like after turn 3, it's okay to have multiples of them in your hand, but for the most part, you only really need 1, and you want to have 1 in the graveyard and 1 in hand if you have both of them in play. You don't want to have both of them in hand or both of them in the graveyard. So it has 2 very good effects. First off, you can discard it from your hand, target a BLS monster, it gains 1500 attack, and whatever your opponent's monster has, it has its original attack points. So, say you're playing against, Lunalights, and they go ahead and bump up Leo Dancer up to 7,000 attack points with a blue cat. You pitch your Envoy of Chaos, and Leo Dancer drops back down to 3,500, and you just cut it down in battle. It doesn't come up a lot, but it's very, very good that it has that effect. It just gives you a little bit of extra versatility. And then if it's in the graveyard, you get to go ahead and banish a light and a dark monster to add it back to your hand, which combos really good with beginning night and evening night. There's also a dark monster itself, so if necessary, you could use it to summon BLS. But most of the time, you're just using it to banish off these 2 right here so that you can get a ritual spell and a ritual monster to your hand. Running triple Manju, not going to really go in depth about this. We're running a ritual deck, so you have to run triple Manju. 1 Max C, because Max C is Max C. Now we're running 1 OG BLS, and then triple of the Super Soldier. So the reason for this is that 1 OG BLS is summonable off of our Super Soldier ritual, which is pretty helpful. And it may not have any effect, and it may seem pointless to run this card, but do keep in mind that because it's a ritual monster, it does actually get the effects of evening and beginning, which means that if you use both of them, you can rip out a card from your opponent's hand, you can banish both of their monsters on their field, and you have the ability to attack over 2 of your opponent's monsters, which is just devastating if you ever actually get that off. Like, I've done it a few times, but it's not really super consistent. Well, I mean, it is pretty consistent to do it because of Super Soldier synergies, but my point is that it doesn't happen all the time, but when it does happen, you're going to win that game. I can assure you that much. Running triple Blacklisted Soldier, Super Soldier. This is basically what BLS wishes it could be. It actually has an effect when it destroys an opponent's monster at battle and inflicts effect damage to your opponent equal to its attack in the graveyard. So run over that Leo Dancer with the example I gave earlier. You deal 3,500 points of damage to them, plus whatever battle damage you deal to them. And then if it's destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, you get to go ahead and summon out a Guy the Fierce Knight monster. It's also when it's destroyed by its opponent's card effect. I forgot about that part. And also it's from hand, deck, or graveyard, so there's no real bad place to have them either. Like, it's also why I'm only running 1 of each. Running triple Gateway to Chaos. Gateway to Chaos is basically a Manju that's in the form of a field spell. It adds a Blacklisted Soldier ritual or a Gaia the Fierce Knight monster from our deck to our hand. You're never adding the Gaia monster, but you are going to be adding your ritual monster every time. And then if it gets 3 counters on it, it gets to add a ritual spell. Not super relevant, but it is nice to have that little bit of options. Running 1 Pot of Equity. Basically get back our banished babies, get back our banished dragons, or banished Manjus, and draw a card. Not really a lot to say about that. 1 Rhoda. Rhoda's in here because it gets the twins. It also gets Envoy of Chaos, so basically just allows us to go ahead and add whatever card we need at the time. We have 7 targets, so it's never ever going to really be dead. Running the 1 Super Soldier Ritual. I know that this card is completely power creep that ritual spell, but this one has certain attributes that the other ritual spell does not have. First off, It has the ability to tribute off cards on your field and your hand, which this card does not allow you to do. And on top of that is when it's in the graveyard, you can banish it from the graveyard with a light and a dark monster. Special summon a BLS. Is it from your hand or graveyard? I forget. From your hand. So if you don't have any other ritual spells in your deck and you have a ritual monster in your hand, you can go ahead and banish whatever you need from your graveyard. And you get to go ahead and summon out your super soldier, and you have basically a free monster because you used your graveyard instead of your hand. Pretty good way to cheat around the ritual mechanic. It's pretty useful. Now we have Super Soldier Synergy. This card basically replaced Super Soldier Ritual, but it's still you still run one of it for the aforementioned reasons before. This card has the ability to send a light and dark monster, one from your hand and one from your deck, in order to ritual summon, which means that you'll be able to 100% of the time get these two off on the same monster, which is absolutely broken if you ever actually manage to resolve that, because you're going to be ripping 2 cards out of your opponent's hand, 2 cards off of their field, and you have the ability to attack over 2 monsters. So there is a lot of stupid stuff you can do with this ritual spell. It basically makes BLS playable on a very high level. Okay, maybe not super high level, but it's still a pretty good level. Running 1 trade-in. We don't really want any of our level 8s in the graveyard, but I decided to run 1 trade-in anyway, just in case we really need to get something out of our hand. Running double Twin Twister because back row is problematic. This card is really good. Beginning of Heaven and Earth. This card allows us to reveal 3 warrior monsters, so ideally it's going to be the 2 babies, and then 1 Gaia or BLS monster. Normally it's going to be a Gaia monster, but you can reveal a BLS if you want to feel risky. Your opponent will randomly select one of them, and then they get to go ahead and add the BLS to your hand if they pick it, but everything else goes to the grave. Or all 3 of them go to the grave, which is why you want to normally pick a Gaia monster. So yeah, it's just a really, really good card to have. It speeds up the deck, it gets your babies into the graveyard, and just all around really good stuff. Got 1 Solemn Warning, because Solemn Warning is Solemn Warning. And then we're running 1 Urgent Ritual Art. Give me a second. So we're running 1 Urgent Ritual Art. Urgent Ritual Art is in here because we're running a very small ritual spell count, and there are times where I just simply don't have the ability to ritual summon anymore. Having Urgent Ritual Art does allow me to actually ritual summon after I've used up all my resources. And because of the way that Super Soldier Synergy works, your deck is going to start running out of cards really, really quickly, so it's actually not hard to get into your one of Urgent Ritual Art because you're going to be sending like 3 to 4 cards from your deck to the grave, or adding them to your hand, or doing whatever every single turn, which means that Urgent Ritual Art will get its effect, will get its ability to be useful to you really, really quickly. It's not the best card, but it's definitely very useful. So for the extra deck, we're not really running anything too out of the ordinary. Running 1 Castell, 1 Felgran, 1 Galaxy Ice Chipper Blade, and then double Galaxy Ice Chipper Dragon, 1 Galaxy Ice Full Armor Dragon, 1 number 107, 1 number 23, 1 number 38, 1 number 39, 1 number 95, 1 number S39, 1 Tornado Dragon, 1 Decode Talker, and 1 Proxy Dragon. Not really a whole lot to really say about that one. The reason why I'm running double Chipper Blade Dragons because this thing special summons one when it gets destroyed. That way you have another Chipper Blade Dragon, which you can use to go into Full Armor Dragon and number 95. The Link monsters are mostly just there to trigger your Black and White Dragon, and everything else is just kind of a personal tech choice of mine. So yeah, this has been my Blacklisted Soldier deck profile. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. This has been Alexis, and I'm signing out.